NASCAR could already be working on the Gen 8 car, and we got more updates on the 2311 and Front Row Motorsports lawsuit against NASCAR, and 2311 may be getting involved in that said lawsuit. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We got some NASCAR and other motorsports stories discussed here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight on those really quickly. We're first going to take a look at a couple paint schemes that have been revealed over the course of the last couple days. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into them. The first paint scheme we're taking a look at is Sammy Smith's 2025 Allstate Peterbilt scheme that we'll see throughout the 2025 season. I gotta say, this scheme looks alright in my opinion. I do like the black number. Not a big fan of the color, to be honest. It doesn't look as good, the color. I do think the number looks really great on it, though. We'll see what Sammy Smith can do in this car in 2025. The next paint schemes we're taking a look at are Kyle Larson and William Byron's 2025 Valvoline schemes that we'll see throughout the 2025 season. For William Byron, it's his best Valvoline scheme he's had since joining Hendrick Motorsports. It looks amazing. They did a fantastic job on it. And the Kyle Larson scheme, while it's not as strong as like the 2024 or 2023 edition, I still think it looks pretty good. I do like the white top. I think there's some details they could have done a lot better on it, but I think the schemes do look really awesome for them in 2025. And the final paint scheme we're taking a look at is Chase Elliott's 2025 Lumar scheme that we'll see in 2 races in 2025, including at Mexico City. This scheme looks solid in my opinion. I do like the different change of the color. It's got a different theme. It does look really solid, and I'm looking forward to seeing on the racetrack in 2025. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Rush Truck Centers. Now, this story I did not cover on the channel this past week, but it came out on NASCAR Reddit that it looks like Rush Truck Centers will likely be sponsoring Noah Gragson in 2025 at Front Row Motorsports, and it looks like it'll be for 7 races in 2025. It also looks like it's confirmed that Noah Gragson will drive the number 4 car for the team in 2025 as well. Not surprising to see Rush Truck Centers following Noah Gragson, especially with a lot of the sponsors from Stewart-Haas Racing, who we'll get to at the end of the episode, pretty much associate themselves out with Front Row. It makes a lot of sense. It's also good to see the number pretty much has been confirmed for Noah Gragson for the 2025 season, but it's also great to see the Rush Truck Centers is going to be falling over to that team in 2025. Really exciting stuff, and pretty good to see that Noah Gragson's number has been confirmed. I do think the paint scheme looks good if it truly is the scheme. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Wood Brothers Racing. As it was confirmed on Friday, the Wood Brothers have officially unveiled a new logo for 2025. For them, it's a significant year in their history because this upcoming season will be the 75th year for the Wood Brothers in the sport. Obviously, Wood Brothers have been around since 1950, the oldest team in NASCAR competition, and they've been around and had a lot of success with drivers like Cale Yarborough, people like Neil Bonnet. They've won races, of course, with Kyle Petty. They won a lot of races with David Pearson, Buddy Baker, and most recently with Harrison Burton, and also got a win with Ryan Blaney as well. And now they'll have the opportunity to bring Josh Berry in to see what he can do with the team and see what he can bring to the table in 2025. It's really good to see them make history. Congratulations to them on making history, and awesome to see them be able to get to their 75th year. That logo for their anniversary looks really awesome, in my opinion. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Frankie Muniz. As it was reported a couple days ago that Frankie Muniz, and it was confirmed as well, will reprise his role as Malcolm in the Malcolm in the Middle revival that is going to be on Disney+. Frankie Muniz, obviously an actor who acted in many movies, of course, in shows like Malcolm in the Middle and Agent Cody Banks, will get the chance and opportunity while racing full-time with the Rayoon brothers in 2025. We'll also get the chance and opportunity to reprise his role as Malcolm. This is really, really cool to see. They're bringing all these shows back. I don't think Malcolm in the Middle has been on for a long time, so it's amazing to see, especially since I think Malcolm in the Middle came from ABC, and ABC is part of the Disney family, I'm pretty sure, which is why I think this is happening. Nonetheless, it's really, really cool to see that he gets to reprise his role. It's pretty phenomenal. It's pretty epic. It's pretty nice to see, and glad to see that he'll get the chance and opportunity to reprise his role as Malcolm in the Middle on Disney Plus coming up very, very soon in 2025. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Case Kallenbach. As it was confirmed a couple days ago on Friday that Mark Zetzer will no longer be the crew chief for Jeremy Clements in 2025. Instead, Case Kallenbach, who came from JD Motorsports, is going to be the crew chief for Jeremy Clements in 2025. Mark Zetzer had been with Jeremy Clements Racing, I believe, since 2022 or 2023, and they did pick up a win, of course, at Daytona International Speedway, but the last couple years have not been very strong for Jeremy Clements. Bringing Case Callenbach in makes a lot of sense in my opinion. Case Callenbach is one of the most underrated crew chiefs in the garage, and there were times where he worked with Ryan Vargas a couple years ago, and that team would get some top 10 and top 15 performances in 2020, and they also would qualify inside of top 10 at times as well. The JD Motorsports team could. So I think this pairing could give Jeremy Clements an outside chance and opportunity to not only get in the top 10 and qualifying at a lot of tracks, but I could also see this leading to a lot of success for Jeremy Clements in 2025. So I'm really excited about this for Case. This is a great opportunity, and I think he's going to, like I said, do an amazing and fantastic job. Congratulations to him on getting a really great opportunity to work with Jeremy. I think he's going to do a fantastic, a really amazing, and a really great job with the Jeremy Clements Racing organization. It sucks seeing Mark Zetzer going, but I think it's great that they will be back bringing Case Callenbach in, who I think will do a really good job with Jeremy in 2025. And now we're going to head jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Joey Gase Motorsports. As Joey Gase Motorsports confirmed that they are going to have an announcement later this afternoon on Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. They are going to announce a sponsor and a driver for the 2025 season. Now, Joey Gase Motorsports has already confirmed that Scott Ostino-owned Floridian Motorsports will be a part owner of this organization in 2025. And now it looks like they're going to be announcing some other stuff for the 2025 season. Now, I expect that a pretty good sponsor that's been with this team or been with another team close to them will be part of it. Now, the big question is who is going to be the driver. There's only two drivers, in my opinion, that come to mind. One of those is Mason Maggio. The other one is Greg Van Alst. And you look at the colors, I associate those colors with Greg Van Alst, who made select starts in NASCAR Xfinity competition with SS Greenlight Racing in 2024. So maybe it's going to be Greg Van Alst. But I'm also leaning toward it potentially being Mason Maggio as well. Of course, we all know that I believe Mason Maggio has really good friendship with Scott Austin, and I think a couple days ago, Mason Maggio did put out the pen tweet indicating that he had something signed for 2025. So I think it's either going to be Greg Van Alst or Mason Maggio behind the wheel. Now, Joey Gase Motorsports, they bring Mason Maggio in. That's a good driver to start a program with and get your team back up. This team, of course, really struggled in the 2024 year. Frankie Muniz is a part of the team at times, and they had a bad season as a whole. So they're really hoping they can turn the season around, turn the corner, and run a lot better in 2025. I do think there's a good chance and opportunity that can happen with Mason Maggio. If he can get the chance and opportunity, I think he will likely be the driver of this car in 2025. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Daniel Ricciardo. As it was reported by ESPN that Daniel Ricciardo has no interest in returning to Formula One in 2026 to drive the Cadillac F1 car. This is after, of course, rumors have been circulating over the course of the last week or so about some rumors about Daniel Ricciardo potentially being a potential candidate to join the Cadillac team in 2026. Now, Daniel Ricciardo, of course, lost his ride in the middle of the 2024 season. He won't be, of course, on the grid in 2025. We don't even know what his racing plans are currently at the moment for 2025. I think it'd be really cool for Daniel Ricciardo, since he's not going back to Formula One in 2026. I think it'd be really cool for him to come over to NASCAR and race. I know he's had interest in racing in NASCAR. Obviously, Trackhouse is going to be fielding Project 91 down the road. So I think that him coming over running that would make a lot of sense. Now, obviously, we're having a lot of questions surrounding which drivers are going to end up driving the Cadillac car down the road. We're hearing that Jack Crawford's name is being mentioned as a possibility. I do think Colton Herta is one to watch out for to get in that car. I do think Connor Zilch is one to watch out for. I know Kevin Lee said about a week or so ago that Connor Zilch is being considered for the Cadillac car. So I could certainly see him being a potential possible candidate for the seat. But I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Daniel Ricciardo, I think, doesn't really want to associate with Formula One anymore, and I personally respect that. If you're not going to find a really competitive team to go to, which I think Cadillac has a chance to be competitive, I wouldn't want to go to the team that I don't know how they're going to do. So we'll see what happens with Ricciardo, but we know for sure that he will not be part of this organization in 2026. And at that point, he's going to be 37 years old. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Bowman Gray. Now, it was reported, of course, by Bozy Tatarevic, who does a lot of work with NASCAR and IMSA. He basically put out a tweet that he had been down to Bowman Gray this over the weekend and basically showed that a lot of progress had been made. He basically reported that progress is being made on the racetrack as safer barriers from the Los Angeles Coliseum are being brought in, and I think he also reported that a lot of the sound systems for the track are being updated as well. Remember, Bowman Gray, of course, will be hosting the Busch Light Clash in 2025, which is about a month and a half from now, by the way. It's only about 7 weeks from now at this point. So they're starting to get a lot closer to getting the track up to date. I am really intrigued to see how the racing is going to be. The event is sold out. It is going to be very cold because, of course, this is going to be a night race, but I think we are in for a very intriguing and hopefully a very exciting race. We know the next-gen car has the issues that it has currently at the moment right now, but I do think there's a chance for the racing that it could end up being very, very good. Hopefully it can. I think there's going to be a lot of contact. I think there's going to be a lot of crazy racing, but at the end of the day, I really hope the racing can be good and really fun, because I think that's what the fans want, right? They want it to be good racing. They want the racing to be the best it can, and I am really hoping that we do get to see the chance and opportunity for the racing to be really strong and really, really good in the 2025 season. We'll see what happens with the 2025 year for Bowman Gray. Hopefully the racing can be good at the racetrack. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Viking Motorsports. Now, this organization, of course, did confirm a little bit ago that they will be back in 2025. And according to some reports, they have confirmed what they will be doing for 2025. So it looks like Viking Motorsports is going to be switching manufacturers for the 2025 season. They're going to be switching from Ford to Chevrolet for 2025. It looks like their number is going to be the number 99, which will switch a number from the 38 to the 99 car for 2025. It also sounds like they are going to get ECR engines, and they are going to have a very tight RCR alliance for the 2025 season. But they also did confirm that Matt DiBenedetto, who we knew confirmed this about a couple weeks ago, that he'll be back with Viking Motorsports also for the 2025 season. Matt DiBenedetto going back to the team, really great decision in my opinion. Matty D had some really strong runs with this organization, got a couple top 10s, took that 38 car from basically not even being in contention to make it on owners points and almost being inside the top 25 on owners points throughout the year. Makes a lot of sense. As them switching over to Chevrolet and working with RCR and ECR engines, I think it's a big move for them. Apparently, they're also moving to Mooresville, North Carolina, and building a shop down there, kind of closer to RCR. So this team is looking to really build their program up, and I think the number 99 is certainly a very interesting number that they are going to use for the 2025 year. And I think switching to Chevrolet, which Ford, we really don't know what the full future Ford is, especially RSS Racing. We don't know who the drivers are for that team currently at the moment. But I truly do believe that Viking Motorsports is a team that's really building up themselves toward a really strong and really bright future, and we'll see what this team can do in 2025. I think this team had shown a lot of potential throughout the year. I think if they do get the equipment they're going to get, I think Matty D could get some top 15s, definitely some top 10s, and I think he could be an underdog to watch for in the playoffs next year, even though I think he'll probably have to win a super speedway race for that to happen. I think that's going to be tough for them to really accomplish that goal, but I'm glad to see that Viking Motorsports will be making their unintended return in 2025, and I'm glad to see that they'll be switching to Chevrolet, because I do think they've got a really strong chance and a really great opportunity to be super, super competitive and be really strong threats for 2025. We'll see what they can do, but glad to see that they'll be coming back in the 2025 season. I do think more announcements are coming around this team, probably in the not-so-distant future. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Larry McReynolds. Now, this is a story that has kind of went under the radar over the course of the last day or so. But someone had apparently posted on the NASCAR Reddit page that Larry McReynolds does not have a contract signed with Fox for the 2025 season and beyond. Now, apparently, Larry McReynolds is still negotiating his contract for 2025 with Fox, but at this time does not have that contract signed for the 2025 season. Larry McReynolds has been with NASCAR and Fox for 24 years. Since 2001, he has been on TV, whether that's been in the booth, which he was in the Fox Sports booth from 2001 to 2015, and has been working with Fox as a reporter, basically on engineering and all that stuff, for the last 10 years on the crew chiefing side of things when it comes to tires as well. It has also been on NASCAR on Fox and also been on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio as well in recent years. Even though Larry McReynolds has done some things that in the last year or so that have been questionable, questioning Denny Hamlin, all that kind of stuff with the lawsuit, Larry McReynolds is still America's crew chief, and he's been on TV for a very, very long time. Yes, I know Larry McReynolds is a lot older, but he's still only 65 years old, and I think Larry McReynolds could still get the job done. And I think if they don't sign him again, it would be really unfortunate because I do think Larry McReynolds can still get it done as a commentator. He did a really great job in select race the last couple of years before in 2022 and 23. I think he did a really, really solid job in the booth and when he did those races. And I think it make a lot of sense for him to come back. If he does go and doesn't come back to NASCAR on Fox, that's a massive loss for Fox. And Fox has lost some big names. I don't think Adam Alexander is going to be back with Fox, with him, of course, being committed to Amazon. Shannon Spake is no longer at Fox, and now you're going to lose Larry McReynolds, and then you really don't have many people from the original Fox group that are going to be left. I think it will only be Mike Joy at this point, who are the only original member that'll be part of it at this point if Larry McReynolds goes. So that's going to be a shame. And Mike Joy's probably about a year or two away at this point from retiring from commentating on a full-time basis. So it's going to be a really disappointing loss if Larry McReynolds doesn't come back. Yes, I know Larry McReynolds has said some things in recent years that are extremely questionable, but at the same time, I still think Larry McReynolds does have it. I still think he can get it done as a commentator, and I think it would make a lot of sense for him to come back. Unfortunately, though, at this point, it does sound like the Larry McReynolds will not be making his return and his comeback in 2025, which is a massive and really great shame. And now we're going to head jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Bowman Gray once again, as we're talking about the tentative Bowman Gray schedule for the Clash. As reported by Bob Pockrass on Friday, we'll get to practice here in just a little bit, but basically the schedule has been released for Bowman Gray for 2025. So it looks like there are going to be 3 practice sessions on Saturday where it'll all be split up into 3 groups, very similar to how it was done at the Los Angeles Coliseum. There are going to be 4 key races that are going to take place on the Saturday night, and it will be 25 laps each. The last chance race is going to take place on Sunday, and it will be 75 laps for that last chance race, which I believe only the top 2 or 3 will be able to make the event. And then the main event actually will increase the amount of laps it will have. The Clash of the Coliseum in 2024 was 150 laps. That will increase to 200 laps in 2025. Now, we do not know at this point or time if, of course, there is going to be a halftime break in the event. I would have to think there probably won't be like any halftime show coming along with it, but my guess is there's going to be some sort of halftime thing where people will be able to come into pit road, make some adjustments on their cars, and make sure their cars are set up for the finish of the race and the event. And I do think that 200 laps does make a lot of sense. I think the racing hopefully will be really good. It is going to be super cold. We don't know if they're bringing a soft tire to the track or not to get a lot more tire wear out there for the event. And we don't exactly know what the other stuff they're planning in regards to the Clash, but I'm glad to see that the format has most likely been revealed at this point. I do think there's more probably coming and more announcements coming in regards to the Clash. They're probably going to announce some people. Usually they start making official announcements on the Clash really, really late in the off-season. We're about a month away from it at this point, but it's good to see that the schedule has been finally officially revealed for the Clash. It looks like it's going to be a 200-lap main event, and to me, that's a really good decision to make it a little bit longer and have the event a little bit longer in the 2025 year. I think it is a really good decision to extend it quite a bit, in my opinion. And now we're going to head jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about stage lengths for 2025. Now, the stage lengths have not been officially confirmed yet for the 2025 season. However, Bob Pockrass put out a tweet on Friday talking about what the potential stage lengths are going to be through the first 6 months or 4 or 5 months of the season in 2025. And here's some of the notable ones. Beginning with Circuit Americas, it is still to be announced. The race will be probably a little bit longer. I'd have to think it's going to increase from about the 70 laps they had in 2024. It'll probably increase to around 100 laps in 2025 with them changing the track. Mexico for the NASCAR Xfinity Series will be 20, 20, and 25, so it'll be a 65-lap event in 2025. For the Cup Series, it's not confirmed how long it is going to be. I'd have to think it's probably going to be a 75 to 80 lap event. Probably 75 laps is what I guess will be the length of the Cup race in Mexico, but that is not confirmed. For Rockingham for the NASCAR Xfinity Series, it'll be 60 on stage 1, 60 on stage 2, and 130 on stage number 3. For Rockingham and trucks, it'll be 45 stage 1, 45 stage 2, 110 in stage number 3. For Michigan, for the truck series, 30 laps stage 1, 30 laps stage 2, and it's 65 in the final stage. For Pocono, in the truck series, it'll be 20 in stage 1, 20 stage 2, and 40 in stage number 3. And for Lime Rock, for the truck series, it'll be 35, 35, and 30. So it is going to be about a 110-lap event, with stage 3 shockingly being the shortest, which is really, really surprising, while stage 1 will be probably the longest one of 2025. I think the stage lengths are certainly very, very interesting for sure, and I'm glad to see that there'll be some stage lengths have been confirmed. I expect the rest of those to be revealed as we do get through the rest of the year, and I would have to imagine number of laps for the events at COTA are going to be confirmed really, really soon. Glad to see we're starting to finally get some confirmation on some of the stages for 2025. And now we're going ahead to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about the Mexico City Xfinity Series race. As it was reported by the Couch Racer account on Twitter, which is run by Brett Griffin and Freddie Kraft, it looks like we're expecting a lot of Cup Series drivers to run the Mexico City NASCAR Xfinity Series race. Now remember, NASCAR Cup competition will be going to Mexico City for the first time on the Autodromo Hernando Rodriguez track. Now, why are a lot of Cup guys going to run the Xfinity Series race? Well, the NASCAR Xfinity Series has ran there before. But I don't believe really any driver in the field, except maybe a couple, did run the Mexico City races, because the last time that NASCAR ran at Autodromo Hernando Rodriguez track was all the way back in 2008, which is nearly 20 years ago. And most drivers that are running in Cup today were retired when that race ended up happening. Now, drivers that I would have to think from the Cup Series that are probably going to run the race, I think Shane Van Gisbergen most likely. I would have to think Kyle Larson, maybe Chase Elliott perhaps in a Junior Motorsports car. Kyle Busch, I'd watch for him to be one that could run the event. I would say that Daniel Suarez probably, maybe Joey Logano as well, maybe Brad Keselowski somehow. Maybe see some crazy guys come out of retirement like Carlos Kerbush. That would be really cool. Or get someone crazy out of the bloom. And some drivers, some other series like a Will Brown come down and race. I think that'd be exciting. Or even a Pat O'Ward gets the chance and opportunity. But again, not surprising. Now, obviously, people are going to be asking, are there going to be restrictions from Cup guys running the race? No. Yes, it's been 18 years since they raced here, 17 years since they raced. They're going to 2025. But because they do have prior experience going to the track, Cup guys are not going to be restricted from racing in the event unless NASCAR somehow does announce that that is going to happen. And I don't think that is going to happen. So I think you're going to see a lot of Cup guys run the event, which isn't surprising or shocking. I think you're going to see a lot of Cup guys racing. And to me, the more Cup guys can get out to the track, the better it's going to be. And also think the competition for that event is going to be extremely fun and really amazing to watch. So we'll see what happens and what they do officially announce around that. But I do believe that you're going to see a lot of Cup guys run the event. Like I said, Shane Van Gisbergen, and probably even Bubba Wallace too. And probably even guys like Tyler Reddick may enter the race as well. Same, of course, like guys like Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs as well, potentially entering that event in 2025. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Roger Carruth. Now, we're going to talk about the big Roger Carruth story here in just a short little bit. But one story that was reported by the NASCAR Rumor Nostalgia account is it sounds like that Roger Carruth could be making some NASCAR Xfinity Series starts with Junior Motorsports in 2025 in a fifth Junior Motorsports car. Now, Junior Motorsports already confirmed their 4 full-time entries for 2025. Carson Quaff will drive the number 1 car. We'll see Connor Zilisch in the number 88. Sammy Simply back behind the wheel of the number 8 car next year. And Justin Allgaier, the defending champion, will be back behind the wheel of the number 7 car in 2025. The big question is going to be how many races exactly will Roger Carruth make with the Junior Motorsports Group in 2025 in the number 9 car, because that's the number I expect him to run. My prediction right now is to be around 4 to 5 races, because I also could see Roger Carruth driving the Hendrick number 17 car, which we're going to talk about here in just a short little bit, because we're expecting that car also to show up in 2025 as well. But Roger Carruth, being part of the Hendrick family, would also expect that HendrickCars.com will sponsor him in the event. And I think there's a chance he may make some Cup starts as well for Spire Motorsports, along with maybe guys like Parker Restef, who might be in the Spire group next year as well. But I do think Roger Carruth getting in a Junior Motorsports car would make a lot of sense. And if the Hendrick car doesn't go full-time in 2026, if Connor Zilisch does get promoted to the Cup to go over full-time with Trackhouse, I would expect Roger to potentially fill that place of Connor Zilisch in 2026 if O'Connor does, of course, go full-time Cup racing in 26. Getting him a few starts in that car would make a lot of sense. Now, I do think some other Cup guys and truck drivers will get behind the wheel of that car along with Connor Hall. I would have to think Corey Day would be in the running for a Junior Motorsports C. Maybe Kyle Larson, maybe Kyle Busch potentially. Maybe guys like Chase Elliott, William Byron, Alex Bowman also could be candidates to get behind the wheel. But I think it's really cool that it sounds like Raj is going to get some Xfinity Series starts next year and potentially get the chance and opportunity to make some starts with the Junior Motorsports team and organization in 2025. I think it makes a lot of sense for him to get some starts in that car. We'll see when it does get officially confirmed. But like I said, I do think he will make some starts with the team. And I think getting a few Xfinity starts would make a lot of sense, in my honest opinion. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Chris Lawson. As it was confirmed on Thursday that Chris Lawson will officially join Front Row Motorsports, or return to Front Row Motorsports in 2025, and will crew chief in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2025. As instead of crew chief for Zane Smith, he will actually crew chief for Todd Gillen in the number 34 car in 2025. Chris Lawson, over the last year or so, has been working, of course, with Bricker Racing in the number 51 car and has taken that car to really extreme heights. Chris Lawson, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated crew chiefs in the NASCAR Cup Series garage. He was very, very solid in Truck Series competition a couple years ago. He took Zane Smith to a Truck Series title in 2022. And of course, in 2023, while he didn't make the Final Four, Zane Smith had another very solid season and put together some really strong and really great performances throughout the year and the season. And then, of course, he got over with Bricker Racing in 2024. And I got to say, he was a massive reason why that 51 car really took major steps forward, along with them, of course, getting an RFK Alliance, which one of the Rick Ware cars will not be around full-time next year. He took the 51 car with Justin Haley and Corey LaJoie and got that car in places that it shouldn't have been. And I think a lot of the reason for that was Chris Lawson. I think this duo of Todd Gillen and Chris Lawson is a very, very deadly and a really major combination that I think could lead to a lot of success for the team. Because I think that Chris Lawson is going to do a lot of wonders next year with Todd Gillen in 2025. I think that Todd Gillen was very underrated in the 2024 season, and he had some very strong and really great performances in the 2024 year. And I think that Todd Gillen has a lot of potential to potentially in the future make the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. And I think with how good he's been on super speedways as well, I think he may end up seeing him have a really great chance to do that as well. So I'm excited about this nonetheless for them. I think this pairing teaming up together is a really strong pairing. Now we just got to wait to see. We do know that Drew Blickenserver, of course, will be the crew chief for Noah Gragson. I would have to think at this point that Ryan Burgundy will likely be the crew chief for Zane Smith next year at the team, which Ryan Burgundy has some success, of course, this year with Todd Gillen, so he's probably going to be the crew chief for Zane when it does officially get confirmed and announced. But I do like this pairing. I think that Chris Lawson and Todd Gillen could be one of the underrated pairings of 2025, and I think a top 20 points is very, very likely and could be a really strong goal for the team. Really excited to see what this team can do, and pretty glad to see that Chris Lawson will get the chance and opportunity to work with Todd Gillen in the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. Really excited and great about it. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Hendrick Motorsports. Now, a couple days ago, Hendrick Motorsports put out a tweet reflecting on their Xfinity Series program for 2024. Now, nothing has been officially confirmed in regards to their 2025 Xfinity Series program, but there is a lot of talk that this program will be coming back for the 2025 season. Now, usually they do not announce their Xfinity program till late in the off season, so if we do get confirmation on that program, it will probably come out sometime either by the end of this year or in the first or second week of January. Usually they announce it about a month away from the season. And I do think it will be coming back in 2025. Last year in 2024, of course, they went to victory lane with Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson won at COTA, nearly won at Chicago, got beat by Shane Van Gisbergen there. And then, of course, we saw Chase Elliott win at Charlotte Motor Speedway unexpectedly. Now, the big question is going to be who are going to be the drivers of this car. Well, I would have to think all four current drivers of Hendrick Motorsports, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, William Byron, Alex Bowman, are probably going to be four of the drivers behind the wheel of this car. And I would also think that Raja Karuf, who has a lot of work with Hendrick Motorsports right now with Hendrick cars supporting him next year in trucks, I would have to think that He will be part of this program along with his junior motorsports commitments. And I also think that Corey Day will make his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut. Hendrick Motorsports and Kyle Larson especially are very, very high on Corey Day. And many people do think that he will be moving up to the ladder very, very quickly, because a lot of people think that Corey Day has a lot of talent. And to be fair, he had some really strong performances when he raced in ARCA. He had some really good runs going there, was running a second, of course, in his debut at Salem, made a mistake at the end of the race. But I think that this car will come back, and I think you'll see some drivers behind the wheel and maybe some other drivers, who knows at this point. But I do think the Hendrick car will be back next year in NASCAR Xfinity competition. We'll just have to wait and see when it does get officially confirmed who will be the driver of that car for the 2025 year, because trust me, I think there will be an announcement on that coming very soon in regards to that car for the 2025 NASCAR Xfinity Series year and the Xfinity Series season. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about a driver incentive program. As there was a report by Adam Stern on Friday evening that NASCAR plans to have a decidedly driver-centric marketing focus in 2025, as the series starts an incentive program that will pay drivers anywhere from tens of thousands of dollars up to $1 million for their efforts to promote the sport each season. Now, this could mean a lot of different things. Apparently, this could mean that they don't want them to talk negatively about the sport, but this is for them to try to promote the sport and grow. NASCAR currently at the moment is trying to grow the sport in a really, really big way. And I think getting the drivers out there makes a lot of sense. Back in the day when you had a lot of big Fortune 500 companies out there, like Budweiser, like Subway, like Pepsi, like Coca-Cola in some ways, even though they're still around, like other companies like Home Depot and Nextel, you would see, and basically Gillette as well, you would have these drivers get involved, and the sponsors would pay them for getting involved in ads and getting involved in commercials. And it would get the drivers out there and help them grow the sport. Drivers need to get their faces out there, especially since most of the public eye doesn't really know who a lot of the drivers are. I mean, for crying out loud, yes, the NFL is not known for promoting drivers, but literally they posted some young fan today on social media, and that was Keelan Harvick, for crying out loud, and Kevin Harvick, a Cup Series champion and a Daytona 500 winner. Now, the Fox account for NFL did basically say Kevin Harvick being an analyst, but we need to see these drivers get promoted. There are not many drivers currently at the moment in NASCAR that are well known. Bubba Wallace is known by a lot of people. Kyle Busch is known by quite a few people. Chase Elliott a little bit. Ross Chastain is known only by the Hail Melon. And you have people like Tony Breidinger and Hailie Deegan, who is no longer in NASCAR, by the way, no longer being around with IndyCar. She, of course, is going to be there next year. So you need to see these drivers promote themselves. And I think that getting these drivers to have a driver incentive program so where they can promote themselves and try to grow the sport, that can help in a lot of ways. Because while drivers like Kyle Larson, I think, have the potential to move the needle and do big things for the sport, you can't just have the success on the track. You got to be able to promote the sport off the track as well. And I really do think that this driver incentive program could definitely lead to that. Now, this could also lead down to really, really bad road, and we could see NASCAR try to get too involved and force them to basically follow NASCAR's guidelines. But if it's just to promote the sport and grow it in a really, really big way, I'm here for it. We need the drivers to be outspoken. We need drivers to show their opinions. That's why I like Kyle Larson a lot more, because he was not afraid to share his opinion on things. That's why I've become more of a big fan of Denny Hamlin in recent years, because Denny Hamlin is not afraid to share his opinion on things, and I respect that. If drivers are able to speak their mind and speak their opinion on things, I think that's a really big step in the right direction. Now, like I said, I don't want NASCAR controlling the narrative of what they're allowed to say and promote, but if there's nothing negative that they're going to cause and no tension they're going to cause, I'm for a move where we can see drivers get out there and promote the sport in a much bigger way. So we'll see what happens on the road with this driver incentive program, but if they're getting a lot of money to promote the sport, personally, I'm fine with it. I'm okay with it, and I'm glad to see they're talking about some sort of driver incentive program to try to promote the drivers and grow the sport in a pretty massive and big way in 2025. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode, as we're talking about Parker Retzlaff. Now, if you're on social media a couple days ago on Friday or Thursday, you probably saw this tweet from Parker Retzlaff showing a money sign. I can't exactly remember who was in the meme, but you probably saw that Parker Retzlaff had a money sign indicating that he had a contract, it looks like, that has been signed for 2025. Now, Parker Resup, of course, we know will not be back with Jordan Anderson Racing for the 2025 season, as, of course, they confirmed their lineup for 2025. Jeb Burton will be behind the wheel of the number 27 car, and we know that Blaine Perkins will take the wheel of the number 31 car in 2025. This means that Parker Resup does not have anything currently signed until it seems like now. Now, the big question is going to be, where's Parker Resup likely going in 2025? There's been a lot of rumors and speculation surrounding Spire Motorsports. And when you take a look at the meme and the money sign, that would make a lot of sense. Spire Motorsports is a team that has been throwing a lot of cash around. You look at their Truck Series program. They bought up Kyle Busch Motorsports. They spent a lot of money to get that KBM team and the shop as well. They bought all the trucks and majority of the assets as well. Also, of course, they've upgraded their Cup program, and they're going to have a Tier 1 Hendrick Alliance most likely in 2025. And going over to Spire would be a really, really good career move because it could lead to him down the road. If he is going to go to Spire, it could lead to him potentially getting an opportunity in the Cup Series. Like I mentioned a little bit ago, it does sound like that Spire Motorsports will have a fourth part-time Cup car in 2025. And I think that he does deserve the chance and opportunity to be with Spire Motorsports in Truck Series competition. Now, who would he replace? Chase Purdy most likely. It doesn't sound like Chase Purdy will be back with this team for the 2025 season. So it would make a ton of sense for him to be over at Spire Motorsports for the 2025 year-end campaign. I think he deserves a chance and opportunity, and like I said, I think this is where he's going to be headed. The other question is going to be, who are the other drivers going to be at the team? Andres Perez is one that I've heard could be a potential possibility. Maybe Chandler Smith, but even though I've heard Chandler Smith will likely go to RCR. Maybe Eric Almirola, but I think Eric Almirola, if he does come back, will be with Joe Gibbs Racing. I think there's some other drivers down the road that could get announced for these teams. And I think there's some other big announcements that are coming in regards to Spire very soon, including one that we're going to talk about here in just a short little bit. Nonetheless, I'm glad to see that Parker does have a contract signed for the 2025 year. I do think he 100% deserves to be racing in the sport next year and next season, and I'm glad to see that it looks like he will be racing next year because, like I said, I do think he truly deserves to be racing NASCAR in the 2025 year. I think it will be with Spire Motorsports. We'll see what is officially announced so for in 2025. We'll have to wait and see what happens. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about practice and qualifying. As it was announced on Thursday afternoon that the 2025 format has been officially announced for 2025 practice and qualifying, and it has been simplified in a major way. First, group practice for all series NASCAR Cup and Xfinity and trucks has been extended from 20 minutes to 25 minutes. There will be single round qualifying except at super speedways where they'll do the same thing they've been doing really for the last 4 or 5 years. There will be no more of the knockout rounds going forward, and starting lines will be based on speed in that single round. Tracks that will basically have the longer extended practice sessions are Bowman Gray, Daytona 500, COTA, the All-Star Race, Mexico City, Indianapolis, and Phoenix for Cup. For Xfinity, the two notable ones are Rockingham and Gateway, and for the Truck Series, of course, will be Michigan, Lime Rock, Watkins Glen, New Hampshire, and Charlotte for the Charlotte Roval. So 8 of the 25 races of Truck Series will have extended practice. But the big thing also is the fact that Daytona 500 will have a practice session before Media Day takes place. There's a lot of positives here. Number one, no more of the knockout qualifying except the super speedways. One of my big problems I've had with qualifying in NASCAR is how it's so complicated and way too complicated. And I think making it a little more simple makes a lot of sense to me, and I think this was the right move to go with. I think simplifying it up, not making it too chaotic, just simplifying it up and not going over chaotic made a lot of sense to me. The other big thing is the fact there will basically be based on the speeds. Basically, fastest to slowest. That's how it should be. Don't make qualifying too complicated. Make it simple. Glad they did that. The other positive, like I said, Daytona 500 having an extra practice session. It'll make the event a lot bigger. It creates more of those big storylines we're really looking for. And I think that you make a lot more fans like myself very happy to talk about the sport and promote the sport. I'll criticize NASCAR when something stupid happens, but I think when something really good actually happens for the sport, We need to praise NASCAR for it. And I think for the most part, with the changes they're making to practice and qualifying, I think these are massive positive and really, really great changes for the sport that they are desperately making. And I think that making changes to it, after all the complaining, all the crying, I think it's good. Now, obviously, I think we all want more practice, right? I think they're heading toward a step in the right direction. I hope down the road for every event we get at least 1 hour of practice. I don't think we need 4 or 5 hours of practice every week, but I think 1 hour of practice should be the thing every week. But I'm very glad to see that we have practice and qualifying sorted out, and glad to see that it's not going to be as complicated in the 2025 year. I'm glad to see it's been very simplified for the 2025 NASCAR season. Now we're going ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Trackhouse Racing. As it was announced on Thursday that Trackhouse Racing will be officially fielding an entry in the Rolex 24. They're going to be teaming up with TF4 Sport and, of course, the GT class and the GT Pro class, and they'll run the number 91 car with TF Sport. The drivers will be behind the wheel of the Project 91 car will be Shane Van Gisbergen, Connor Zilisch, Scott McLaughlin, and Ben Keating. This is one of the most star-studded lineups we have seen for the Rolex 24 in a very, very long time. Let's begin with Shane Van Gisbergen, 3-time Supercar champion, winner of around 80 races in Supercar competition, winner of the Bathurst 1000, won in his Cup Series debut at Chicago, will run full-time with the organization of Trackhouse Racing in 2025, won 3 Xfinity Series races as well, and was very impressive in 2024. Next, Connor Zilisch has won the Rolex 24 in the LMP2 class, Sebring 12-hour winner, contended for the ARCA East Championship, finished second, won 5 ARCA races, I believe, in 2024, won his Xfinity Series debut as well, and will run full-time with Junior Motorsports in 2025. Then you got Scott McLaughlin, winner of 3 Supercar championships, around 57 to 58 races, won the Indy 500 pole in 2024, has competed for the overall win, I believe, in the Rolex 24, and has also won 7 or 8 IndyCar races up to this point, and is looking to contend for a championship in 2025. And then you have Ben Keating. Keating, who is 53 years old, but still killing it. Has won Le Mans 24 hours, of course, in basically LMP2 in the Corvette class as well. And some other big accomplishments like winning a lot of Rolex 24s and a lot of Rolex watches as well in many, many years. I think this is one of the most star-studded lineups we have seen for a team in a very, very long time. And Trackhouse Racing continues to break a lot of barriers and do a lot of big things. There is no NASCAR team right now, in my opinion, that is doing the things that Trackhouse Racing is currently doing. And I think this team has a very strong chance and opportunity to win in their class. Obviously, I'm not expecting this team to go out there and win the main event, right? I don't think they're going to beat all the GTP cars for the overall win and overall victory. But I think them having a chance to win in their class, very, very possible. Now, I think they're going to have to go up against the Lexuses, the AMG 14 car, and the 16 or whatever numbers they use. I think are going to be, or the 12, are probably going to be really, really strong. But I think the Trackhouse 91 car with TF Sport, and of course the Corvette teammates as well, the 3 and the 4 are also going to be super strong. But I think that this is a very star-studded lineup, and I think that all 4 drivers will be able to play their role. Now I'm hoping down the road they could eventually get a GTP car for Trackhouse Racing. Obviously, they couldn't get it done this year. It's also one of the reasons why you're not seeing Shane Van Gisbergen and Connor Zilisch run the Chili Bowl this upcoming year. Connor had a deal to run the Chili Bowl, but that's not happening. But I think this lineup is very star-studded. It's really exciting to see that they're going to field the car. I think the car looks amazing. It looks fantastic too, by the way. The blue, the yellow, all of it looks great. And I think them running the Rolex 24 is super exciting. And I think it's going to be so fun and so amazing to see this car officially on the racetrack for the Rolex 24 in 2025. I think that this is a team to watch for, and I think they've got a really great chance and a really fantastic and strong opportunity to go to victory lane in 2025. And now we're going to head on to the next story of today's episode as we're talking about Rajah Caruth. Now, I did a video covering on this channel a couple days ago on Friday, but it was confirmed that Rajah Caruth will be returning to Spire Motorsports in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in 2025, driving a number 71 truck once again. Rajah Caruth last year drove full-time for Spire Motorsports and picked up his first career NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series victory. Had, I believe, 4, 5, or 6 top 5s and had around 10 or 11 top 10s in 2024, and also made it to the round of 8, but did not make it to the championship 4. His average finish was around 11th to 12th place throughout the season, and there were some races in the second half of the year where Rajah Caruth was very, very strong and had some chances to win. I go back to Bristol where he finished almost runner-up. I think he finished second or third in the race, and then of course he ran very well at Nashville, finishing inside the top 5, finishing in third place in the event. And I think Rajah Caruth really impressed throughout 2024. Now, what are the expectations for Rajah Caruth in 2025? I think the goal has to be Championship 4. Yes, there's going to be a lot of competition for Rajah next year. He's going to have to deal with guys like Corey Hine and Lane Riggs and Caden Honeycutt and Daniel Hemrick and other drivers like potentially his teammates, like, of course, Andres Perez-Laura and potentially Parker Resleff as well. He is going to have a lot of that competition, but he's also going to have some less competition because he's not going to have guys like Christian Eckes, like Nick Sanchez, like Daniel Dye, like Taylor Gray in the series, even though he'll have guys like Ty Majeski, Grant Enfinger most likely. But I think that you look at Rajah, and he's a driver that every year has improved. I made a video about a month or so, basically right before the season started last year, on drivers that need to step up, and Rajah was one of those guys that I said really need to step up. And I think of all the drivers in that top 10 list I made, he was the number one guy that really stepped up and really took it over. He had a great season, did an amazing job overall, and I think 2025, he's got to get better. I want to see a couple wins to Rajah this upcoming season, and I think he's got potential to really do that. I think Rajah has a lot of talent. I think he's got a lot of really great capabilities, and I think it's really amazing to see that he'll be back with Spire Motorsports in 2025. So what are the expectations? Like I said, Championship 4. That should be a no-brainer goal at this point for him. Championship 4 should be the goal. Second thing, 2 to 3 wins. Go from having a 1-win season in 2024 to a 2 to 3 win season in 2025. If he can do that, I think he's going to be very successful. We also know that it's very likely Rajah will make some select starts in the NASCAR Xfinity Series of Junior Motorsports, like we talked about just a couple minutes ago, but we also are expecting to see him maybe make some Cup starts as well. Rajah has a lot of talent. I think he's also got a lot of potential to grow the sport. Of all the drivers that work in the sport, he is one of the hardest working individuals in NASCAR to this day, and always put the effort, always puts the work into it, and always does a really great job as a race car driver. So I am very happy about this for Rajah, that he is coming back. I think Rajah has a lot of potential to really take the sport to the next level, which I think he will have a really great chance and opportunity to take the sport to the level that we're really looking for, which is that next level that I think he could really, really bring to the table. I think he'd be that next driver like Bubba Wallace who can be successful and win race in the Hendrick Group. And I think down the road, the next 4 or 5 years, I could definitely see him in a Hendrick Motorsports NASCAR Cup Series car, which I think is the ultimate goal. I think he'd like to be in a Cup car by the end of the decade. At that point, he'll be around 28 years old. I think he's got potential to be in the Cup Series down the road and in the not-so-distant future. Again, I think he's got a really great chance and opportunity to definitely make the playoffs in 2025. And I think he'll be very competitive enough where I could definitely see him, like I said, being able to make the playoffs. I think he's going to be competitive. I think he's going to be strong, and I expect a really great season for Rajah and him to improve from 2024. And I think he'll do great in 2025 with Spire Motorsports once again. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the first of 2 major stories in today's episode, as we're talking about 2311 and Front Row Motorsports once again. Now, we've gotten a couple interesting updates in regards to the 2311 and Front Row Motorsports lawsuit. As it was reported by Bob Pockers, I believe on Thursday, that Jerry Freese, who is the general manager of Front Row Motorsports, says that Steve Phelps told him in September that the Stewart-Haas Racing transfer of the Stewart-Haas Racing charter was approved at the time on September 12th. But they were told that they must drop the lawsuit for it to happen. It continues on by saying that Joe Custer has been told it would be approved by Steve Phelps, but Joe Custer also said that they cannot run 2 more cars as they do not have the personnel, as of course many of the Stewart-Haas Racing personnel have moved on to other teams and organizations, and Haas Factory Team does not have the resources for 2025. Now, according to what Joseph Strictly had reported, the 22nd charter, which was owned by the number 4 team, which was the number 4 charter that was around, is the one that's trying to be transferred over to Front Row Motorsports for 2025. This could change a lot of things. Now, we've had some other updates in regards to the lawsuit. Of course, they have a new judge coming in. Kenneth Bell is taking over for Judge Whitney, who, of course, has retired from the case and may have retired from judging together as a whole in the court of law. Now you've got more evidence coming into play. Obviously, throughout this lawsuit, both sides have had their back and forth, right? You've obviously got the teams who've shown a lot of evidence on their side of things, and NASCAR has sent their response as well. And I think they also sent a response as well, kind of disagreeing with it. And Steve Lotto, who owns, of course, 2311, said that NASCAR is also lying about this. But the big wrinkle comes into play around Stewart-Haas Racing. This could lead Stewart-Haas Racing in some way, shape, or form getting involved with the lawsuit, because now you've got this team like Stewart-Haas Racing who wants to just get out of the sport completely and just downsize it, basically being the Haas factory team at this point. They don't want to be really involved in NASCAR anymore, and they want to sell it off. Tony Stewart really has no interest in being in the sport anymore. And as long as this lawsuit is going on, the amount of money those charters are presenting, which I believe Joe Custer told Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi not too long ago, they were basically told that the longer this goes, the less of the value is. According to what we know at this point, those charters are around $27 to $28 million each for the charters they're trying to sell for 2311 in Front Row. One of those charters going to Front Row for Zane Smith to be the driver, the other being for Riley Herbst, who's been confirmed to be the driver of that third car. But we also know that 2311 will not run a fourth car this time, at least full time. It won't run a car in the Daytona 500. Now, all this is going on because 2311 and Front Row are trying to get a preliminary injunction for 2025, which we still do not know at this point when that court date and when the court case is going to take place. That's what we're waiting on, is for that date to happen. We've had multiple responses at this point throughout the last couple of weeks, and I would have to imagine that there is a response coming from either teams or NASCAR in the next couple days or so, and hopefully really, really soon we do get confirmation on when the second court date is going to be. We may not know if they're going to be able to get those charters, because remember, the charters and stuff for 2020, from 2020 to 2024, that current charter stuff will be expiring in the next couple weeks. Remember, that expires on December 31st. At the time of filming this is December 15th. And obviously, they want to get this done so they don't have to worry about the charters down the road, and they want to get rid of it. Again, we already know teams, of course, are making a lot more money. But like I said, the big wrinkle comes into play with Stewart-Haas Racing. You've got them getting involved with this lawsuit now. Could they potentially team up and find their way into the lawsuit? Absolutely, with no question, because if Tony Stewart feels really frustrated and the team feels really frustrated about the fact they're not getting the money that they believe they deserve, they're going to be really disappointed they can't get the money. And that's what Tony Stewart wants at this point, is that money from the sale. And them being promised that kind of stuff, that could really hurt this. Now, one thing I am going to say in the defense of NASCAR slightly is the fact that basically, going forward, if you're an organization, they can say it verbally, but then disagree with you at one point and say that you're lying about that kind of stuff. NASCAR can clearly say that. The most important thing is when it comes to the court of law, verbal agreements are not going to mean as much in the court of law. That's not going to really mean anything for that in the court of law. So, in my opinion, when it comes to this, you need to get it written down. I think throughout the lawsuit process, I think both sides have presented, though, really, really great evidence. But like I said, going back to the other thing, I think make sure instead of having a verbal agreement and saying that it's going to happen, put it down in writing so we're not having conversations about that and basically saying one side being a liar but another side not lying. If it's written down and it's not just verbally agreed upon, then I think that the teams really have a good thing here. Again, I think with the new judge, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. But I think that Stewart-Haas Racing is going to find a way to get involved with this lawsuit. I really think they are. And you may have 3 people involved in a way. Now, obviously, I don't think that you'll see Joe Custer get involved with this. He'll be focused on running the Haas factory team. But I have to think that you may see some other people get involved with this lawsuit down the road, including Stewart-Haas Racing, which we all kind of thought they'd be out of NASCAR at this point completely. But now you've got them getting involved in the lawsuit. And I think it's absolutely wild to see this with the team basically shut down at this point. But now you've got Stewart-Haas Racing getting involved in the 2311 Front Row Motorsports lawsuit, which I think is really interesting and really wild to see. I do expect more information to come out about the lawsuit down the road and more stuff to be confirmed here very, very soon in regards to that said lawsuit for the 2025 year. And now we're going ahead and jump on to the final major story of today's episode as we're talking about the Gen 8 car. Now, I did a video covering on this channel, shockingly, I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday night, or Friday night, excuse me. But it was reported by Adam Stern on Thursday or Friday night that Steve O'Donnell said on whether the sanctioning body is already starting to draw up a next Gen 8 car. He says, we're working on everything. Now keep this in mind, going back to the Gen 8 car. The fact they're already talking about a Gen 8 car is absolutely wild. Because here's why it's kind of crazy. We have only had the Gen 7 car, the next gen car, since 2022. Now, the development started all the way back in 2018 to 2019, but the car did not come out till 2022. Going into 2025, we are only in the 4th year of the next gen car. Now, if we go through the timetable of everything, the earliest we may get this new Gen 8 car, maybe 2028 or even 2029. So it's probably not going to be till the end of the decade. Now, obviously, the next gen car, this current car, has a lot of fundamental flaws and a lot of fundamental issues. We all know that the intermediate racing is absolutely very, very good with the next gen car. We know the racing there is very, very strong. We also know, in a sense, maybe some with the super speedways, even though I think the racing hasn't been perfect with super speedways, I think it's been all right. But the two types of tracks that have really suffered with the next-gen car have been the short tracks and the road courses. Now, I will say in 2024, thanks a lot to Goodyear, I think the racing did improve in a pretty major way. And I think it got a lot better this year. Martinsville, which unfortunately the controversy overshadowed how great a race was, but Martinsville and Richmond on the short track tires, it was really, really good. And I think even the road course racing with the tire fall they brought to the track, it made a lot of sense. But the next-gen car has a lot of fundamental flaws with it, and there's a lot of changes that really need to be made. Now, obviously, with the new car potentially coming down the road, the one thing that needs to happen is, one, the car doesn't need to be racing amazing. You don't need the car to race really, really good. One thing about NASCAR is you make the cars uncomfortable and the drivers uncomfortable, the racing tends to be a lot better. Look at the Gen 6 car. The car was not meant to race good at road courses and short tracks. Guess what? The racing on those tracks were absolutely incredible. That's why road courses and short tracks are asked for a lot, because fans absolutely love the short track racing and the road course racing. And they wanted more of that. And they really, really enjoyed that. And they want to see that once again. They want to see the road courses and short tracks be really, really good. Otherwise, you're worried about the bread and butter of the sport, those being the short tracks, not surviving long term, which is a really big shame. You got people asking for more intermediate races right now and less short tracks and more road course and less road course races. And I think that shouldn't be the way. I think that the car has a lot of fundamental issues and flaws. The other big thing is the horsepower. Obviously, NASCAR said we're not going to bring in more horsepower to it, which again, we all have said this for a long time. You can only do so many aero changes on the car before you run out of aero changes to make. So the big thing fans want, like myself, is there to be more horsepower on the car. Go back to the 850 horsepower stuff. Go back to 900 horsepower. Even going back to 750 horsepower would be a really strong and really, really great change. But NASCAR obviously said they're not going to do it until a hybrid system comes into play. And obviously NASCAR continues to say, we're going to get a hybrid system down the road and we're waiting for a new manufacturer to come in. Well, NASCAR, we haven't seen a new manufacturer come in at this point. We haven't seen Honda come in like you keep promising us. We haven't seen other manufacturers come in like you keep promising us. That's why I don't fully believe them on the manufacturer stuff. I think, trust me, we all want a new manufacturer to come in. But if you can't attract a new manufacturer, that is a fail of this car. There's no denying that. If that is one thing that doesn't happen with this next-gen car, because one of the goals of the next-gen car was to bring in a new manufacturer, that is a really, really big fail. But again, going back to, like I said, there are a lot of fundamental issues with this next-gen car. And I think there's only a few certain things you can do nowadays before you run into issues. Again, it's also crazy, though, they're already working on the Gen 8 car. Now, keep in mind, like I said, I don't think it's coming in 25 or 26. I don't think it's coming in 2027. I would think 2028 or 2029 is when this new car will come out. But I think the fact they're already talking about it is absolutely wild to me. And the fact they're already working on another car. And we just got the Gen 7 car a few years ago. crazy times, in my opinion, the fact they're already talking about it. I think the next-gen car has had its promises. We've had some viral moments happen with this car. I think the sport has grown a little bit with this car being around, but also fans have been frustrated with other aspects of the sport. And I really hope whatever changes they do make, if they do somehow find a way to get another car down the road, it can make the racing a lot better on some of these tracks. Because like I said, I think there certainly has been good racing at times on these types of tracks that have struggles, but I think bringing another car in is kind of crazy to me that we're already doing this. And again, we, like I said, just got a car a few years ago. So I really hope whatever they can do, I hope it can make the racing definitely a lot better. Trust me, I want the racing product to be the most important thing that is really, really good. So hopefully whatever changes they do have for another car coming down the road, I hope it can be really, really good. But I'm not sure if the racing will be good with another car down the road, in my opinion, at those types of tracks. So that is going to today's long NASCAR news and motorsports news episode. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win, video does go live on my channel. Follow me Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Listeners on board with that, and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. What are your thoughts about NASCAR working on the Gen 8 car? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And do you think that Stewart-Haas Racing will get involved in the 2011 and front row lawsuit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel, we'll probably have the Team Penske preview dropping. Wednesday, maybe another NASCAR news video. Thursday, I probably may have the first lineup video dropping on the NASCAR Cup Series driver lineup that could be dropping this weekend. I will have truck predictions dropping this weekend as well, and some other content dropping before the end of the week. I'll have other stuff. We'll talk to people like, of course, like Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Hailie Deegan, all that kind of stuff. Shane Van Gisbergen too. Expect that to come very, very soon as well. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.